Hello, Star Wars CCG players, fans, and folks that just want to listen to my beautiful voice on a Saturday afternoon or evening or Sunday morning or whatever the hell time it is in Australia. I'm not that smart. Garrett Larson here, Dead Body on Slack and the forums and everywhere else. Bringing you some Retro League action. This is the final game of with the two undefeateds, the last two undefeateds here, playing Brian Avery, Frodo Light. If you're on Gemp at all, you have seen Frodo post along with his friends, the Connecticut contingent. They're super active on Gemp. They're super passionate about the game, and Brian's an awesome guy. They're awesome people. Playing against Brad Kippel. Brad is just an online monster. Like every online tournament, I just assume Brad's going to be in the top 8 somewhere, if not in first. Like Brad is constantly up there. He is an outstanding player. And Ryan Avery, Frodo Light, is kind of coming out of the dark here, making this top 8. Like, Brian's a good player, but there were some amazing players in this Retro League. I mean, we just saw Johnny Chu yesterday get taken down by Andy Talaga. Andy's the other undefeated left. The winner of this game is going to be looking at Andy. I think it's going to be strength of schedule to see who actually wins it. But like Brian Avery played amazing. We watched his last game against Johnny Chu last week, and you guys got to listen to me say how much I didn't like some of the plays he made, but he pulled out the game, and good for him. Like this is why I do this. This is why we watch this, is to see that cool stuff happen right at the end. So the game is up and ready to go. Frodo said he'll be ready to go right at 7 o'clock Eastern time on the dot. So I'm just waiting for them to get it started. The Retro League, if you haven't participated yet, this is the last event of Premier through Hoth. Next week, it'll start the Premier to Cloud City Modified that's got Asteroid Sanctuary, Scanning Crew, Maya Monith, Dangerous Time, a bunch of cards banned just to make for a better experience. And it should be a great time. It's a thing. Don't go off me saying it's SOS. I believe it's SOS. I didn't look that close because I'm not going to be in the finals. I'm praying that's me and not Gemp just deciding to drop all of a sudden. Yeah, there's Andy jumping in and saying it's SOS because he does actually know better. What is going on here? All right, there we go. Oh, okay. So it decided to freeze for a second there. Let's open this game up in a new tab. Yep, I was going to mention the Beezer Bowl at some point, and then the computer went nuts and freaked me out, and now we're back. So the Beezer Bowl is going on in East Hampton, Connecticut in July, the week after 4th of July, for all the Americans who are going to be doing stuff. And here we go. Brad starting with the 5th marker, which is pretty standard. 5th or 7th marker are basically the starting sites you see. Very rarely do you see the Death Star. And Brian Frodo Light going with the Obi-Wan's Hut. Again, super standard. Brad getting force right off the bat. He gets the 7th marker and the 6th marker. So he's still giving up 0 icons. But now, he's going to be activating at least 6 next turn, depending on what Frodo puts out. It's very possible Gemp just overloaded based on the amount of Beezers going into this game. Like, this is going to be nuts. So let's see what Brian does here. I mean, he's only got 3 force. We saw Brad just deploy the Twixes, deploy his sights, and pick up. That's pretty common early game. Oh, Brian says, nope, let's go. Throws a battleground down on table now. Battlegrounds are a little, I won't say less important, but differently important in this format because there is nothing like a Come Here, You Big Coward to shut down the drains and stuff at non-battlegrounds. But Brian drops Lars Farm and Mos Eisley and Obi-Wan to his hut. Did he get a saber too? Like, is he just going all in here? Honestly, I expect he'll move him to the farm. Mostly because Brad's got enough force. Okay, he does not. He's choosing to leave him there. Brad's got enough force. If he's got a Vader, he can always drop Vader, move him over, circle Obi, and Brian will be in a bad spot. So we'll see if that happens. We'll see what Brad got, and Brad just goes straight to draw. Brad said, I got 8 force. I don't have anything I can do with it right now. We're going to draw some. So he draws to 12 and stops. Monarch and Grimtash are super, super prevalent in this format. Like, I would absolutely expect my opponent to have them at all times. So going over 12 seems silly. And Brian just says, yep, I don't need all these force. I'm going to throw Figrin Dan down to hang out with Obi-Wan and draw some. There's no character elimination in this format. There's nothing like, sorry about the mess, Sniper, or Dark Strike, or Clash of Sabers, you are beaten. So putting the guy alone like that, or putting Figrin with Obi-Wan isn't a huge concern. Like, there's no way that he really needs to worry about, okay, we're going to jump Figrin. I mean, short of a, here's a spy plus Vader plus circle, Figrin's not going to be alone. And Brad just says, all right, you can hang at that location. I'm going to throw a Walker with Blizzard 2 and DS61 2 over at Mos Eisley. Blizzard 2 is immune to less than 4. So, you know, DS61 2 forfeits for 4, which means if Brian goes to battle and draws a 5, the whole thing goes kablooey. But that's not easy in this format. Like, this is an early format. There's a lot of lower destiny cards in here. Like, going after that would be a bit of a risk. So Brad might just be saying, hey, I'm going to take this aggressive. I'm going to start draining for 2. Brian activates. There's no need to Figrin right now. Like, you don't have anything to Figrin. I mean, Brian might just pick some up. Yep, Brian's just going to draw some here. There's a lot of cat and mouse early in this format. There's a lot of figuring out what you want to do. And Brian says, I'm going to attempt the Grimtash. Draws up to 13. Little bit of an interesting play. I kind of expect he'll lose 1 force from hand here. Yep, there we go. Just because if Brad didn't have the Monarch, you don't want him drawing into it. I mean, Blizzard 2 is an amazing card. Walkers have always been one of my favorite cards. Trample is, when I sold my collection, the only thing I kept was my foil Tramples. Like, Trample is my favorite card. And Brad just says, you know what, I'm all in. He's got Blizzard Scout 1 there as well now, which gives him a whole pile of forfeit, because the Scout forfeits for 5. And he throws Presence of the Force on Mos Eisley and says, you know what, I'm going to start draining for 3. So, and Frodo actually lost 2 Obi-Wans from hand to that drain. So I think he's confident the only way Obi-Wan dies is some way that he can't come back. You know, and that's really going to be a circle is now complete. And Brad then just picks a few up. Like, Brad's confident to just say, hey, I'm going to stick with this for the moment. So we see Frodo doing some gambling. Ooh, 5's big. Like, this era is so different than Open, because something like, ooh, a 5-4, all right, you win. Brad's not beating a 9 with Figrin Dan with any sort. Oh, and up to 12. All right. I'm not even positive Brad has 2 6s in his deck. Like, he might have a circle. Maybe he's got 2 if he's really all in on it. Well, you ain't picking anything when you draw a 0. So, does he have a white border mountains and a black border mountains? That's... Oh, okay, so he went double 0. Hold on a second. Oh, maybe not. It just looked that way when it came out. All right, well, Brad now knows where some of his activation is. And I think Frodo's going to retrieve an Obi-Wan. It's just a thought here. So, but Brian's got to come up with something here. Like, what he's doing right now is not going to get there. Even the Obi-Wan saber is cute, but like, you got to start being somewhat aggressive because that drain of 3 is going to start to add up. All right, so now with the proficiency as well, he can start draining for 2 back. And with figuring, that puts you on even footing math-wise. So, and they're functionally equal on cards right now. I actually think they might be almost exactly equal. So Frodo's got, well, Brad's got 32, 40, 52 cards total. And Brian's got 36, 40, 52 cards total. Like right now they are dead even. And Brad's got 16 force active, 12 cards in hand. Frodo went up to 16 cards in hand. Like, Brian is trying to find something. I'm just not sure what it is. Vehicle mine incoming. Good golly, how many Obi-Wans did Brian have? As he pitches 2 more to the drain from hand. Like, I mean, I guess if you just want Obi and all your stuff, you drop them all. And there's another Mos Eisley. So he might be just trying to set up the Cantina Shuffle and, you know, just made the deck a, here's what I want. I want Obi-Wan with the saber shuffling. And I'm just going to put enough of those in that I will always get it. And there's Piet on board. Blizzard Scout 1. Brad really just saying, look, I'm perfectly fine keeping this exactly where I'm at until you do something different. And there we see Brad now start to spread out. He says, all right, here's Piet on Blizzard Scout 1 at Lars Farm. Like, now suddenly they're both draining. He's a drain of 2 and a drain of 3. All right, and you can't necessarily go after Scout 2 because Blizzard Scout 1 can react. So Brad also now drawing over 12. Brad says, you know what? I don't think you got the Grimtash. I'm going to make you prove it. So we've, interestingly enough, not seen an interrupt played yet this game. But we saw Brian spin a Sense and an Altar as part of his draw, and there's a Noble Sacrifice. So we're doing some figuring here. And Brian's going to retrieve one of 3 Obi-Wans or a Mos Eisley. So he's got a 3, 4. As there's another Obi-Wan. He is just awash with elderly men. 5, 6, 7. Whew. 7 is beatable. It's not a gimme, but, well, now it's a gimme. Brad apparently just only draws sights for Destiny. I mean, at some point there's going to be some Sense Altar, but we really haven't seen a lot from Brad. Like, we haven't seen Brad play a single Sensor Altar, nor have we seen him draw any. And honestly, he's got his highest ability character on table is 3. Like, you don't necessarily want to get into a Sense Altar war when your high ability is 3. So we see Brian's going to get his drain in and start draining for 2. Now, the one downside of putting Figurin with Obi-Wan like that is it makes it very hard. You can't just walk Obi-Wan out and start trying to do something. There goes an Ice Storm and a Victory Class Star Destroyer. Like, you're kind of stuck with Obi-Wan there because he's got to stay with Figurin. There's the Cantina. Now, I would not hate to see a neighbor in here. All right, there's Luke For cheap. All right, so Andy says there is a final confrontation between Andy and whoever wins this because they will both be 6-0. Odds are myself and or Dan will be helping do that, although there's definitely other folks who are well acquainted in the retro game who might come help us out with some commentary, and that would be super awesome. And Brian just says, I'm going to throw a pile of gray at your dude. We got Biggs, Red Leader, and Luke all hanging out at the farm, ready to take on Captain Piet on Blizzard Scout 1. I definitely remember this scene in the movie. I think it was episode 9. I don't know if Frodo's going to start a battle, though. He's in battle phase right now. I think he's thinking about it. Yep. And I don't hate that battle. There's no immunity. Like, honestly, a 5 is great. And there's the trample from Brad. There's the sense from Brian. I feel like Brad's got an answer. There's the hell to pay for the sense. And then I expect we'll see an altar. So hell to pay is the grabber that stacks it and makes you pay force equal to the number of cards stacked there. And we did see the sense grab, then we saw the altar. Now Frodo pays 2 to sense it again, and Brad with another altar. So that's going to go through, because Frodo can't pay for another sense. That's going to get expensive quick on those senses. That is a rough spot to lose that sense altar war right away. Like, and not even just, I mean, he lost it, but he was losing the senses either way because they got stacked. Not being able to do anything to that trample. Oh, and Brad had another one. Ouch. Let's see if Biggs gets squished this time. Nope, Biggs is dodging the. It's an ATST, so the feet are little. So Biggs is just dodging around it. Be careful. Yeah, Andy, this trample in this era is tough to hit. You know, you're usually trying to step on little guys and just sort of hoping. Battle Destiny is a 1, which is just enough to kill Piet. And Brian's honestly probably fine with that. And honestly, Brian's probably okay that the 2 tramples got burned. Like, I doubt there's that many more tramples. And there we see the altar for Battle Destiny, which is a 4. It's going to be Biggs or Red Leader. Piet was promoted to the lost pile. I don't know what this demotion thing is. That Piet just got promoted to lost pile. You know, if you're Frodo, I don't know if I want to move Obi and Figrin over. I might just want to draw those cards. Like, you got a pile of forfeit there. Brad's still got a bunch of cards in hand and, you know, can certainly come down with power, but, like, I don't know what you're going to do. All right, so I assume we'll move them both over. There's no reason to leave Figrin alone. That feels like a bad plan. There we go. It's like waiting for it. I'm like, why is he not moving right away? So, that being said, if Brad does have a 3rd trample in there, I'm betting Figrin gets stepped on. So, I mean, he's playing the blues now, but you get stepped on by a walker, you're going to be playing the blues. So, we see another drain of 3 here from Blizzard 2 at Mos Eisley. Frodo loses an altar off the top, a sense off the top, and a Calphalosindros. Yeah, Frodo's in a bit of a tough spot. Like, Brad had a bunch of good cards, and Darkseid is definitely advantaged in this meta. Like, I absolutely believe Darkseid has an advantage. So it's hard to say, hey, we'll make this happen. Like, you're going to see a drain of 3 here from Brian, and then probably retrieve a card with Figrin. But then you got to go do something. Like, and that Obi-Wan's Hut drain is going to be bad. That's going to hurt. The Mos Eisley drain is going to hurt. The Cantina drain is going to hurt. Like, you, none of those are something you can do a lot with, and you don't have a ton of cards you can do stuff with right now. That's a bad start. Brian draws a 0 for his first Destiny with Figrin. Oh, good golly gee. There's another 0, and that's, again, this era, you have to put a bunch of cards. You have to just stick a bunch of locations in your deck. They're not pullable, and you want to get them early, so you got to play a bunch, and sometimes this is what happens. And there's Brad with the 1, so right now he's tied with Figrin. A 0 here, and they're a tie. Anything other than a 0, and that's a win for Brad. So Brad's actually going to get a retrieval off that, which is definitely not what Brian was hoping for. But we'll see. He gets back the Ice Storm. I don't think it really doesn't likely make too much difference what he retrieves back, as I could definitely see Brad immediately losing that, because it doesn't look like we're going to see a lot of play on Hoth. Like, Hoth right now is Brad's activation platform, and no one's going there. Yeah, so instead we see the Walker Garrison from hand, which makes sense because nothing's going on there. The 4th marker from reserve deck, and then Kessel from reserve deck. There's a Tatooine utility belt on Obi, so that at least means he can't be circled. The lightsaber proficiency gives him power +3, but only in battle, so he can still be circled outside of battle. Its character's power +3 in battles. So the Tatooine utility belt makes him power +2 on Tatooine at all times. So Obi's now immune to circle, but Frodo's got to do something here. So there we see Obi-Wan moved in front of Blizzard 2. I don't hate that. Like, he's power 10 when he gets battled there. Yeah, no, there were definitely, there was definitely talk, and I admitted to that. I said I didn't think Brian was going to win last week against Johnny. I didn't love some of the ways he played things, but he did pull it out, and it ain't over till it's over. But Ryan's looking at a drain of 6 here that he doesn't have much he can do about. When he was playing Johnny, there's a couple spots where it's like, look, Johnny's low on cards. Like, I could see lines for him to get there. This is a little harder line because Brad's definitely taking that aggressive route. Yeah, no, that utility belt's awesome. That was a very good play. And there we see the drain of 3, and then it could be worse for 3. Well, Brad's probably not sensing it. Okay, Brad is going to pay 3 and sense. Now, does Frodo have the altar? Frodo does not have the altar. I don't love making that play. I know, some of you guys watched me play Johnny yesterday when we were waiting and got to hear me and Dan chat about that a little bit. This era, you have to expect the sense, and if you're counting on an interrupt to go through, you have to have that altar for the sense. So the not having the altar to protect your it could be worse was a huge mistake. Like, you now lost 4 to that drain instead of 3, and you lost 3 force you could have drawn that you needed. So I think that was it's, it could be worse is a very good card in this format. Like, not a lot of people were packing It's Worse that I've seen, that I've run into. I played It Could Be Worse in all of my decks, although I did go 1 and 2 with light side, so maybe we don't talk that much about it. But, like, it's still a real good card. So Frodo is going to be, that Cantina's looking real bad. Frodo almost has to have something along the lines of a sorry about the mess here. Like, if you got a mess to take out Tarkin, and then a gift to the mentor, you can make things real interesting in there real quick. But that's gonna be what you have to have. Like, and Frodo's only got 4 cards in hand. So it's not just, do you have that? Brad saved 4 force. That tells me Brad says, I have a sense and I'm going to stop you from doing something. And we saw Brian doesn't have an answer for that. Brian doesn't have the altar. He doesn't have a way to stop that. Honestly, I'm not even sure I'd Cantina Shuffle here. I think you might just battle off the Walker and hope you're outpowering it by a decent amount. You'll just lose Red Leader to cover. So we'll see the Figure and Dan wager here. Well, there's a sorry about the mess I was talking about. So he may or may not be running more than one. Like running 2 in the deck is pretty reasonable. But oh, yeah, Brian went all in on Cantina Shuffle because that's the 3rd most Icely as well. So he's got a 5 total for Figurin. That's not ideal. Especially here if he's paying 1 and letting Brad retrieve cards. That's a super feels bad moment. So, all right. So Brian does win that one as Brad totals out of 3 with Veers and the Baby Walker. So he'll get to retrieve a card here. Let's see what card he gets back. Oh, gets back a Sense. That would have been way cooler if there weren't already 3 on Hell to Pay. Because at some point, those are just going to be you can't sense anything because it's just too darn expensive. And that point's coming pretty quick, honestly. Like, it's already costing 4 to do it. So Frodo goes for the Cantina Shuffle and moves Obi-Wan into the Cantina. Oh, he did have another sorry about the mess. I mean, at this point, yeah, Brad's got to sense it. So Brad's paying 4, playing the Sense. I mean, did Frodo, and oh, Frodo did not hang on to the altar to get that there. I don't like that play. And Andy agrees with me, and Andy went 6-0 in this event, so I'm going to say that I'm probably not the dumbest person to talk about this right now. I don't like that line. Like, again, he didn't have a way to defend that interrupt. So Brad was screaming, I'm going to sense it. So trust your opponent when he tells you something. You know, when your opponent shows something, make sure you can answer that. Like, if you don't have the altar, and I thought for a second maybe he was waiting on the altar and had let it cancel the It Could Be Worse, which I would not have liked as a play, but I would have sort of understood. But this time it's just you just gave away 2 interrupts you really wanted to use simply to make Brad stack a Sense. Like, I don't like any of that because I think you have to move somebody else into the Cantina. Like, Obi's power 10 if he starts a battle, but one of those destiny draws is getting canceled. And Brian just draws. That's the last thing I expected him to do. And Brian now saves 5, which to me is Brian telegraphing, hey, I have a sense. But at this point, I would expect Brad might have an altar. I really don't like leaving Obi-Wan there alone. I don't know what his plan is unless he's gonna, like, you can't noble sack Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan's power 7. There's nobody that is gonna get deployed who's power 7. Expect the unexpected. Maybe it will be, but I still don't like that play. Like, I'm honest with you guys. I tell you if I like something, I tell you if I don't, and I'll certainly tell you when I'm wrong. So there's Nabrun sending Obi probably back to Mos Eisley. And all right, that's cute, I guess. Now okay. Brad just says, fine, I'll grab your neighbor. All right. I'm So you took a heck of a risk to block a drain of 3 because a new Taguta solo would have made your day real bad. And I still don't love that play. And there we see Brad just says, all right, well, DS61-2, get off your walker, get on a different walker. I think I'd like him to draw some cards. Yeah, I wouldn't hate moving Ozil over to give him extra forfeit fodder, but I don't mind just drawing some cards here. Because it is worth having some cards. And Brad saves one. We'd seen him already spin a barrier for a figure and draw, so it wouldn't shock me at all if there's another one in there. And Brian activates. Here's the Figure and Dan wager. So we can say any interrupt Brian wants to play right now is going to be clear. Like now, if he's got the sorry, I could absolutely see, hey, Cantina shuffle over and make something happen. So, and a total again with figuring of 5. That's bad. And I think the destiny below that might also be a 0. And there's Brad with a 4. Are we going to see Brad retrieving another force here? That's nope. So we're tied. Honestly, with as often as Brian has hit 0s on there, that's probably the best that could have gone. So let's see what his choice is now. Like if you have to do something, I wouldn't necessarily hate battling at Mos Eisley because you're either going to kill 61-2 or Blizzard 2. And I'm perfectly happy with that. And all you're likely losing out of it is Wedge, which is not a big loss. But you got to do something. Like there's just sitting like this is not, you're not winning. Like you're not causing any damage and Brad's draining you for 3 with the hut. All right, so we're going to see another Nabron. And we see the 2 to stack plus 4 to pay, so it'll cost him 6. Actually, that Nabron would have made it above 4, Andy. So, but yeah, I agree. It wouldn't have been the best play, but I think it's kind of Frodo's got to try and do something here. So actually, this is going to be a decent. There's a chance this goes well for Frodo. And there's Alter on Presence. Totally fine. You can't be sensed. Like, let's get a card back in reserve and also slow down that damage a little bit. Like, that's all you can do right now is try and slow down some of the damage. Because I think what we'll see here is a battle. I think Brad will lose everything, and then I think Brian's got to spend the 4 to move all his guys back to Lars Farm, and it feels bad. Like, this is all cute. It's just not as effective as you'd like. So you're up by 11 right now in power. The thing is, Brad's got 10 in forfeit right there. And that 1 for Battle Destiny certainly isn't helping things. And Brad's going to draw probably like a 3 or a 4 here based on what we've been seeing. Okay, it's a 1. It kills Biggs. I can't fathom any other way this goes, but Biggs dies. And I think Brad will forfeit the Walker and Mahdi. They did their job. They drained for probably 9 force. And now they're going lost and you're fine with it. Like, I can't fathom peeling to keep them alive. So I expect we'll just see, yep, and there went Red Leader, who did his job as well. And yep, there went Mahdi, there went Blizzard Scout 1, and then one more. We see the Vader from used pile because Brad, I think, also accurately says, ain't no way Vader's dying. So, and yep, we'll see everybody walk back to Lars' farm where he's going to be threatening a drain of 4 between Anakin Saber, Obi's Saber, and Proficiency. Like, Brian's trying to keep this a game. It's... Huh? Okay, so Figrin Dan is hanging out alone at Obi-Wan's hut. There is no way for Brian to stop an Ellis Hellrot if Brad has one. There is no way for Brian to stop a spy plus anything against Figrin. Maybe Frodo drew into a Hoojix and just wants to tempt things, but like, I don't like any of that play in any way, shape, or form. Like, you're not getting anything out of Figrin sitting there. He's not draining. You're not getting anything out of it. There's times I'll certainly be willing to say, hey, let's take this risk. Let's take the line. And I wouldn't hate Frodo being aggressive here, but that's not aggressive. Like, that's just okay, that's cute. You're not doing anything with this. So there's Dan's barring on Blizzard 1 as a pilot. And we see Blizzard 1 move over. Honestly, I might not move it. I might move Ozzel onto Blizzard 2 and then just call it a day. And look at that, Brad's like, Garrett, I like your thought process, and I would like to subscribe to your newsletter. I don't actually have a newsletter, but I feel like if I did, Brad would subscribe here, as he and I are simpatico, just on that wavelength. So Frodo's got 3 cards in hand. Yeah, he's got a bunch of power. I mean, they're equal in power at Lars' farm, but he's got to draw 4 to cause any damage there. And he risks losing Luke and the Saber on the comeback. And there's Brad trying to trample Luke. I'm not sure he's got a Destiny track there. Yep, he doesn't. I think it's just well, we'll take a shot at it and see what happens. So, and I'm honestly okay with that. Like, I might have actually waited till Brian's turn and just let him take a shot at it. He does know where the neighbor is. Can he get... Yeah, he can get to it. There's the altar on Proficiency, so he's going to get that because, again, Frodo can't stop it. There's no... He can't play a sense. So now the power... Losing that 3 power hurts a little bit. Because now you're potentially down in power. Like, you have to assume he's going to potentially draw better than a 3, and you're going to have to lose Luke to cover if you start this battle, but it's not a fun spot to be in. That being said, if Brian's got a way to do something fun, like a Proficiency or a Gift of the Mentor, this could get interesting. So we see another Figrin. There's Boshek for a 1. There's Luke for a 1. And this is this era a little bit. Sometimes you just get bad destinies, and there's not much you can do about it. So Frodo draws a 3 total in 3 destinies. And Brad has to think he's got a chance to win this. Or maybe not. There's 1-0. And there's a 2. So Frodo does win the gamble with a total of 3. That's a phrase I didn't expect to be saying today. Like, Figrin Dan goes with a total of 3, pulls out the win. But Frodo's still got to do something here. Like, you can't... You're behind in the damage race. There's Chewie. Okay. Like, I guess I don't mind Chewie. He's a bunch of power. He's a bunch of forfeit. It gives you something to do there. It's... I don't love Wedge. I mean, Wedge is also fine, but he's not a lot of power. He's a bunch of forfeit, but he's also just asking to get stepped on. And there's the step. I mean, Jedi Presence would be insane if he's got it, if that's his last card. And we miss with the step again. And Brad did hang on to at least one more trample just to go after Chewie. So the Jedi Presence would be pretty hot. Because then he'd be at 12 plus 4, 16. So he'd be at almost 30 power. He'd be at like 28 power. There is the 4 for Battle Destiny, so it will cost... It'll cost Brad the DS61, but he does have 11 cards in hand. Like, I'm just not sure he's going to be that worried about it. So he's down, he draws a 3. So he's going to be down 6 in total power. Depending on what's in his hand, it might just be DS61 and then peel a couple. Or it'll be 61 and Dan's. And I think it just depends on if he's got multiple pilots in hand, he can lose, or other cards. Like there, he loses the 3rd marker and a Monarch from hand. Because I think he rightly surmises he won't need either of them. Frodo's got 1 card in hand. I don't think you need to Monarch him. And Frodo draws... Oh, no, Frodo doesn't draw that card. He moves Obi-Wan over in front of Blizzard 2. Okay. Frodo's trying right now just to minimize damage. Like, and I get it, but you're behind and it's not getting closer. So we see another drain of 3 at the Cantina here. So there's an Obi-Wan off the top, the 0 Echo Command Center off the top, and the Echo Command Center off the top. So Frodo's actually probably perfectly content with those going away. There's Officer Evax and his massive forfeit of 5, which actually is really big. Like, in this era, in this format, he is real big. And there's DS-61-3 as a passenger. We're going to see the 61-3 and Ozzel switch spots. He jumped on the walker and he's like, dude, get in the back seat. So you got a little fire drill going on there. 61-3 is now the pilot. And Brad throws down the 3rd marker. That's fine. I think it's just to give him a little more activation. I don't think it really matters anything. See the battle at Lars Farm. And that 1 for Battle Destiny is going to kill Chewie, which is all you care about. And Frodo's got to draw 4 here. Like, okay. So Frodo does draw the 4, so we are going to see Evax die, which means Brad is going to have to consolidate a little bit. Like, you can't just leave Dan's sitting there. But Chewie dies. And honestly, Brad could just as easily walk Blizzard 1 over to Obi's hut and try and stomp on Figrin and call that a day. So we see the battle at Lars Farm. There's a 4 for battle that, or not, at Mos Eisley, excuse me. So 4 for Battle Destiny is enough to add some power. Frodo needs to draw good here. That's not good. Frodo's down 5 in power. I don't think you can lose Obi. Like, I don't know what that 1 card in his hand is, but I don't think you can lose Obi. Yep, there, he's going to peel. There's Dutch, the Cantina, Rebel Barrier, Nabrun, and Obi from reserve. So, I mean, Frodo's going to be able to activate down so he can know he's got the 4 in there. And we see Ozzel, DS-61-3 jumps off. Ozzel moves back into the pilot slot. So he jumps on driving DS-61-3, moves over, jumps on Blizzard 1 as a pilot. Luke's not starting that battle. So, I mean, Frodo's in a rough spot here. Brad's got, what do we got? Brad's got 19, 29 cards total, and Brian's got 13. That's that might be okay if you were doing, playing something like Ebo where you can just be like, all right, here's a pile of drains, but you're not playing Ebo and you don't have a pile of drains. And we see Brian activates, leaving 3 in reserve, so he's going to figure him, but that means he's not planning to battle. And we see the Bosheks. I think he's going to go 1-1-4 here for his draws. There's the Boshek, there's the Luke, and then this last one should be the 4 he drew for Battle Destiny and against the Walker. Yep. So I will say not leaving that 4. If you have the 4, and he knew he had the 4, I'm not sure I would have hated battling with Luke, because that 4 would have killed both pilots. And you lose Luke. I mean, you're going to lose Luke to do it, but that might have been at least to slow down the damage train, because like you can't just leave Luke sitting there now because Brad's got 10 cards in hand. Like Brad could legitimately just drop a pile of dudes on you. There's Leia, who was the 1 card Frodo had in hand, but he doesn't leave any to start a battle. I don't love the way he's played this. Like, and there's Luke moving over. So, I mean, Figurin's fine where he is in this case. I mean, if he was at Lars Farm, he'd have gotten stepped on 5 turns ago. So, I think I'm okay with Figurin where he is because Brad just is willing to let him sit there. Like, it's not like Figurin's getting Frodo a lot back. He's got to give up a bunch of force to get it in there. We see the GG from Frodo as he concedes. I think that's, unfortunate, but he was definitely stuck there. So Brad Kippel will be facing Andy Talaga in the final confrontation to win the title of champion of the Retro League and or World. I don't know what title they want to go with. We'll certainly let you guys know when that is going to happen. And we will absolutely be planning to stream it. I know that they should be easy to schedule, easy to get a hold of, so it'll be a fun time. Thank you all for watching. Let's double check here, see if there's anything crazy going on. Nope, nothing crazy going on in here right now. So thank you guys for watching. Everybody have a great night.